Morning and welcome back to Self-Hoodlum. This is your hostess, Pearl Snap. Make it snappy. Today I wanted to talk more about the meaning of the term self-hoodlum, which is a word that was coined by me. And it's like a mashup of two different words. I tried to make a Venn diagram of this morning. Here you go. Okay, you see that? We have two terms here, selfhood and hoodlum. And right in the middle where they intersect is hood, which is short for neighborhood, really. And then that came to me, who are the people in your neighborhood? Remember Mr. Rogers? Oh, who are the people in your neighborhood? Do you really know who they are? You know, you might not know. I mean, there's a lot of people in these neighborhoods that are not who you think they are. And they've been doing weird stuff behind closed doors, like especially in Utah, like where they keep finding these people with like dungeons in their homes where they keep children in feral conditions. Then that made me think of the movie Pulp Fiction, okay? Pulp Fiction, underground crimes. Remember the store that was like an army surplus store or something, but underneath there was a dungeon where they did terrible, unspeakable crime. Okay. So, do you really know who the people in your neighborhood are? We're finding out that some of these people who look like normal families actually have weird families at home that abuse their kids and stuff, and they traumatize them. It's kind of like viral bullying. It's a kind of viral bullying that forces the child to become a bully themselves. They are twisted and formed into a mutated type of person to serve these crime organizations. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself here, but the self-hoodlum is a person who doesn't want to belong to that, who doesn't want to. But the irony of it is that you get branded an outlaw or a hoodlum for having integrity and not wanting to be a part of that. If you're a real, true life, true self-hoodlum, that's what's going to happen to you. So I looked up these words this morning, and I asked AI. I got some help from AI, okay? Self-hoodlum, what is a self-hoodlum? What is it? Okay, so AI says selfhood. First I looked up selfhood, the state of having a distinct individual identity and character, which is made up of your unique personality, your consciousness, your subjective awareness, and the focus is on you, okay? That's selfhood. Furthermore, it's the unique individual identity that distinguishes one person from everyone else. So it's your individuality, and it's made up of your characteristics, your experiences, your beliefs, and your conscious awareness. That's what's down there. So that's selfhood, okay? But like the Venn diagram, it's mashed up with the word hoodlum. And so I looked up what is hoodlum. What is hoodlum? An aggressive, lawless individual or a violent criminal, often associated with street gangs. But if you look at my intro video, it's talking about how you joined a gang of one. You You belong to your own gang, okay? You're a gang of one. You're an individual. But it says, but the self-hoodlum is not violent. Remember I just said, the irony of it is that they are the people with integrity because of their self-awareness. They are contemplative. Their consciousness is too developed to be influenced into making false or manufactured choices, and they value genuine or free choice, free will. And which is AKA, or also known as having agency over their own lives. This is making your own decisions, thinking for yourself, which these days is almost amounts to a crime. And you'll find that if you're trying to do that and you're trying to talk about it and you're questioning things, you get persecuted for that. You get gang stalked, you get isolated, you get, if you keep persisting in surviving, they start trying to kill you. And that's what's been happening to me where I am for a long time now. I've been trapped. I'm a crab in a bucket, trapped in a trafficking zone with people trying to abduct me and kill me for 9 years now. I've been going through this. I've been in trauma of fight or flight for 9 years. All right. This is people who value having agency over their own lives versus just being a sheeple, quote unquote, and going along with the crowd, often out of ignorance or fear. And I have an asterisk up here. A lawless individual is an outlaw. But who else talked about these things and had the integrity to go against the status quo? Jesus and Buddha were outlaws. Okay, Buddha was the son of a rich man. I keep kicking my tripod, sorry. He was the son of a rich man who had never been outside the palace, and he wanted to see what was out there, and so he went out into the world and found out how ugly it is, okay? And then he became acutely aware of the importance of meditation as a way of casting off all these illusions and getting down to the truth, which is that nothing really exists. It's just everything is a construct of illusions that is manufactured to basically make slaves out of people. Okay, and Jesus went into the moneylender's temple and flipped the tables over and said, and told everybody not to do business with them because they were just cheating them, and they were charging too much interest on loans and stuff like that, just like it's happening today. If you want to speak out against that, the corruption of the financial system, and you're going to be crucified for that, right? Okay. So maybe that's enough to digest for now about what's a self-hoodlum. I had the beginnings of a reading out this morning that was really, wow. So let's just leave this here with the PowerPoint slides, and we'll go over to the table and see if we can develop this reading, okay? Stay with me here, stay with me. Okay, hang on. Okay, a few more words about Buddhism and religion and meditation and liberation from suffering, right? Which is what the Buddha was really into after he came out into the world, right? And he saw how terrible everything was. He realized that even being rich was not really being liberated from suffering. And to be truly liberated, you had to recognize that all that gold and stuff was just an illusion. Okay, so the secret of becoming liberated from suffering is to recognize that you are in a false reality. Okay, you're in a false reality. Meaning, I talked about all those illusions that you have to kind of work your way through understanding that this and that is just an illusion before you can achieve liberation, okay? Therefore, you must learn to identify oppressive ideas and belief systems. Know what you don't need. Simplify your life by putting that stuff to the side and have confidence that your editing down of reality is going to lead you to liberation, okay? So, recognizing that you're in a false reality requires, like, creation of a false reality requires mind control, okay? So all mind control is methods of controlling large numbers of people, or aka brainwashing. And these are all forms of mind control, okay? Religion, psychology, philosophy, politics, jobs and work, even gender roles. All these things are kinds of mind control, okay? And they are imposed on people a lot of times without your knowledge or consent. You don't even know you're being brainwashed or conditioned to fill a role. This is all about informed consent, okay? Not brutalism of forcing people into these roles, which is what MK Ultra really is ultimately. It's a kind of brutalism regarding people's agency over their own lives, where you get conditioned into these certain roles without your knowledge or consent, sometimes by inflicting trauma on you. I said viral bullying, okay? So the secret of becoming liberated from suffering is to recognize that you are in a false reality. Screenshot. Okay? All right. Okay, that's kind of heavy, but let's go forward with this reading. And remember, in order to appreciate what I'm doing here, you kind of have to buy into my belief system a little bit, which is that I believe in a higher power, and I believe that those realms, there's different realms of beings that live in different dimensions that we don't even know about, that help us, that can communicate with us. But because we're in these three-dimensional bodies, which were manufactured by these hidden controller people in order to create a profitable false reality where they could slave people for money, for profit. Okay, so that's why I'm going to bring these mystic Martian oracle cards into the reading too. But so I believe that I can get messages from spirit or the spirit world, and they come from beyond the veil. And this is sort of like one of the ways we can communicate with people who are up there in a different dimension. They don't have bodies, right? They're just energies. And those are the realms that we aspire to get to via ascension, okay? We aspire to leave these bodies and not go into the rounds of reincarnation again, where we become trapped in a body and we become part of this human farming network. Anyway, this is how the reading started this morning, okay? The split was first these two cards. This was the first split, and that was the Five of Wands, which is sometimes called the Jedi training card. All right, but it can also be just like conflict and chaos, conflict and chaos. And then we had a Five of Wands to the Hermit, and the Hermit is the person who withdraws from society and goes out onto their own and thinks about everything and develops self-awareness and turns into a self-hoodlum. This is a self-hoodlum card, okay? So we have a self-hoodlum who's off to the side watching the chaos here. That's how this reading started out. As self-aware, and you know that they have awareness, and they might have been enlightened, because see the lantern there? That indicates that this person is spiritually aware. Okay, they've developed this spiritual awareness that sets them apart from this crowd that's down here in the chaos. All right, so then when we took away those two cards, and underneath there was another, this is a card of stalking and surveillance. Okay, it can mean those two things. The Page of Swords. It can also mean divine protection. And then you have here, it revealed the, wow, look what's underneath these two. All right. This is a card of mental conflict, or being bound in somehow. It can be being captive, maybe held in by someone else's belief system. You're captive or a slave to someone else, and you are being forced to be in a position you don't want to be in. You're tied and bound to someone else's agenda, possibly. But what I got from this is, what we have here is, we have a watcher watching a watcher watching a captive who's captive inside this area of chaos. I take this as to be a captive and inside an area of organized crime happening, just like I am, like I told you I am. This is me right now. I'm a captive inside. Oops, we're not supposed to show that card, sorry. I'm a captive inside this area of chaos where all this organized crime is being done. But underneath my captive status, I'm actually someone of a star status, which means I'm someone who has exceptional self-awareness, maybe even divine protection or divine status. Okay, can be a so-called earth angel, but this is definitely someone who can work with the waters of life and heal people. This is someone who's connected to nature. See how they're pouring the water out of the vessels and onto the land, and using that otherworldly consciousness, because what are stars? There are other worlds, there are other suns, other stars. This might be our star, but we maybe come from a place where there are other stars, and there are 7 other stars there. Okay, so, and also this is an 8-pointed star, which can be, that's a secret society symbol. There's an 8-pointed star on the floor of the CIA building. Okay. And the 7 stars are the Pleiades, too. This person has blonde hair, so we could say this might be a Pleiadian, okay? Let's see, I need to cover this up with something. Let's cover her nakedness with this pendulum. And if you remove this guy, we have more nude people. We have more naked people underneath that. Again, this is someone that is a starseed, or a genetically engineered person to have a more robust DNA structure than many of these chaos agents that are used on the ground to keep everybody in line. Okay, so you know that we're dealing with a starseed here that was specially genetically engineered to do this job they're doing down here, and it's not easy. Okay, all right, so underneath that, now I have to find something to cover this up with. Cover their nakedness with that pin. All right. So now we have the 9 of Pentacles, which is this person coming into their own. This is the fruits of being a self-hoodlum here, is when you have agency over your own life and you're self-sufficient with your pentacles, which is all your self-awareness, makes you, you can, this is so-called pre-empress energy, where you can use the resources you have to be self-sufficient. In other words, your selfhood sustains you, and you may not have money. This might just be your consciousness is very robust and very you're a very self-aware person. That's what this is. This is a fortune in self-awareness here. Okay, this is you in your garden. You have everything you need. Maybe in the 3D you don't, but this is the garden of your self-awareness. Okay. Underneath that is the Ace of Wands, which is new beginnings. So you're able to create for yourself. It's like a magic wand. You're able to create for yourself the conditions that you need to rise above this earthly chaos and somehow protect yourself and make things work for you so that you survive. This is a symbol of robustness, and so this is how you survive, and through the robustness of your DNA and your ability to be self-aware and to recognize that you're in an illusion. Okay. So you are in effect, you are your own. You're your own hierophant. You're your own boss. This is your higher self. You are your own boss. You have the keys to, see those keys down there? You have the keys to selfhood is everything we just talked about. Okay, this is the person who has the keys to the kingdom, and justice is underneath that. So this is agency over your own life, right? Knowing the truth, that's what that sword is. Knowing the truth about that everything is an illusion, that's the key to being a self-hoodlum, to selfhood, to surviving, to liberation from the chaos. The truth is that, what did I say? That you're in a false reality. Everything is an illusion. Okay, so this is what the Buddha discovered. And then you can lay down all these burdens of the material world and go into healing. It's a very contemplative state. You can go into healing. Before you come back out and you reclaim your sovereignty so that you can grow your own garden. Okay, let's see what's underneath the star over here. Underneath the star we have the Page of Wands, which is the bearer of good news. Good news is coming. Good news. And remember, that's what they said Jesus was preaching in the gospel, as good news. The good news is that you can be free. You can become free of the oppression. You can break out of the chaos by rejecting it, rejecting the false reality. That's the good news. But it's become especially hard to get the truth. Underneath that here, we have the King of Swords, which is the brutal truth, and it hurts. The Three of Swords is heartbreak, sometimes despair, or depression. Once you discover the truth about the brutalities of the world, it can lead to depression. It can, especially if you get persecuted by the agents of chaos, like the Mr. Smiths in the Matrix. They come after you, they gang stalk you, they try to shatter your mind by doing that and scare you into isolation. That's what happened to me down here. I've been struggling with that for a long, long time. But the good news is that all of this is getting exposed. Look at this. And under there is the Fool. That's new beginnings. It's taking a leap of faith. It's getting out of your situation. But sometimes the Fool can be a little deluded too. It looks like he's about to walk off of a cliff. Now, it's said that this little dog, it represents your intuition. And you see how the dog's trying to warn him that he's about to walk off the cliff? It's your self-preservation instincts, perhaps. But you did have some kind of awakening, okay? You definitely did. You had an awakening. The Star card came out, right? The Star card came out. You had an awakening. You're healing. And somebody's becoming a real self-hoodlum here. Okay, all right, so that's the first layer of the reading. All right, let's pick up all that. And I think the dominant cards here are this one, and this one. And look at all that gold and yellow and stuff. And this too, okay? Yeah, you're walking into healing because you had a realization, and you're going to have agency over your own life and grow your own garden, okay? You're going to take charge of your own garden here. All right, what can we say? What do we know about these hidden controllers here? Let's see. Because this is all intersecting with... Now, these days I talked about a little bit about how hard it is to get to understand what the truth is about anything, because we are having this onslaught of artificial intelligence generated fake truth that's meant to deceive you and present you with manufactured choices. Okay, so you have to learn how to discern between organic reality and this fake reality that might be a product of these alien races that President Eisenhower and President Kennedy later tried to warn us about. That had landed here in Roswell, which is not too far from where I am, and with a plan to take this planet. And they come and they do genetic engineering. They're the ones who do that stuff, okay? So they engineered some dumbed down people to be the chaos agents, right? All right. And to be the viral bully. They started the viral bullying and the cults and the horrible underground dungeons and all that. Those are all their products. Oh boy, we got a few. Wow, that's a lot of cards. Okay. Oh God, look. All right, well, this is who a lot of people think they are. All right, this is messages from Spirit. You have to believe in your cards, and I'm just reading the cards. You know, we'll take what cards come out, and then I'm going to interpret them for you. So look what Spirit told us. This is who they are. What was I talking about? Hidden controllers. This is who they are. These shape-shifting bad ETs that they need to cloak themselves. They use They use our genetic material to cloak themselves. They consume us. All right, what else is here? Oh, God. Look at this. Alpha Draconians. You saw me shuffling. I didn't pre-choose these. These are messages from Spirit. Okay. Okay, Alpha Draconians. It says corrupt, unethical cults. So this is who's presiding over this. And we did have the Hierophant come out. In the first round of this reading, we had the Hierophant come out. And let's see if we can find that card again, because, by the way, a lot of people have trouble pronouncing Hierophant. They don't get that you have to look at the word roots. Okay, so Hierophant is from the word hierarchy. That's the organization that's how these organizations are structured. They have like a pyramid, right? That's why they like the pyramid, the triangle, and at the top is the leader, the Hierophant. This is the Hierophant. It's the person at the top of the pyramid structure, okay, which is reputed to be run by Alpha Draconians. And they say this is who runs the Vatican too, you know, that behind all that is a race of ETs, malevolent ETs. And let's see, are there keys on this card anywhere? I don't see any keys, but all right, so what else came out here? The golden ratio, beauty, nature, and patterns. So this is the wisdom of nature that permeates everything, and a lot of people think this is the God energy of the golden ratio. That's that thing where if you cut a nautilus shell in half, right, it reveals all the divine proportions and the divinity behind creation. That how could that come from chaos? It sort of proves that there's a divine hand in creating the natural world. Okay, then the natural world is the world that God meant, the way that God meant it to be before these hidden controllers came in and created all these illusions to give you false choices and no agency over your reality, so that you can be funneled into these false choices to do things that benefit them, not you. But you are a self-hoodlum who wants to grow your own garden. What else is here? Anunnaki. Wow, look at that. Okay, controlling, drama, conflict of interest. Yeah, the Anunnaki. Look, there's even a spaceship there. So these are the overlords that came from some other planet to take over Earth, right? And I'm still not 100% clear on how these guys relate to these guys, but somehow they're all from the same place. And I was watching a really interesting video the other night on Michael Jaco's channel that had Carrie Cassidy being interviewed about just this topic, this very topic. So I recommend that video, and we'll put a link to it in the description box of this video. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go now to some higher guidance. Well, first, let's just take some of these sci-fi cards. Let's take a couple of these and see, because this is the timeline we're in right now, with all these AI data centers and AI running away, running wild, and people just realizing kind of at the 11th hour that we got to do something about these data centers. We've got to stop this AI from taking over everything before it obliterates humanity. Like these data centers are okay. We have to end this We've got the death card coming out here. We're coming up on an end or a full stop to something. Maybe before it stops us. And we have the Seven of Cups, which is illusions, all right? Let's see, what does this say? Hang on. The Seven of Cups. 7 weird, wild, and wonderful illusions to dazzle and distract your mind. These are the illusions, the false realities created by these hidden controllers to keep you from having any self-realization. These are the people that made you into a self-hoodlum, that persecute you as if you're some violent criminal, but you're really a contemplative person who values truth, as we talked about earlier. But this is you bringing death to the illusion, self-hoodlum. You saw through all the illusions. You saw through all the illusions. Okay, what else? Magician. These illusions are produced by these magicians. Okay. What does this say? The master of everything. An exciting adventure of the limits of human comprehension. Well, this looks like an AI. It could be a robot, or it could be represent AI because it knows everything about all this stuff, right? It knows everything about everything. It can do everything, and the magician is out here. So, yeah, this is part of what we're up against. We're up against the machine taking over everything, taking our place, obliterating us, okay? And the world here, that's ascension. The world is a card of ascension, okay? What does this say? It doesn't say anything. It just says the world. But I think you've got the world at your fingertips. You figured out a few things, and enough to rise above all this chaos that was created by the magician, creating illusions. You rose above all that, and that made you into Seven of Wands. You're cornered. What did I talk about earlier? Being, I'm a crab in a bucket. The Seven of Wands is a self-defense card. You ended up having to defend yourself. You got cornered. Okay, because you went into self-hoodlum thinking. What does this say? Cornered by a slithering horror on the eon-old plains of Marthon. Does she have a secret weapon? Okay. So this lady looks like she was trying to go out to the outer limits of, get outside the illusion, and she was looking for the truth, but she got stopped up there and cornered on another planet and had to defend herself to the point where she might have to pull out her secret weapon if she has one. Okay, let's ask these cards, what is your secret weapon? Okay, let's ask these oracle cards, what is collective's secret weapon? You self-hoodlums, what is your best chance to survive this? To survive this? Are you going to make it? Let's see, get some advice for the collective. Are you going to make it, self-hoodlum? Are you going to be able to go forward with your self-hoodlumness? I think so, because you got the World card. That's a card of ascension, and you got this golden ratio card, which is you cut through the illusion and recognized how the world is actually supposed to be. You took the illusion off of it. You went Buddha on them. You went from Siddhartha being the prince in the castle to being a hermit or an enlightened master. Okay. Also, look, safe travel. Your roads are open. And I think that's because the collective is realizing that everything's an illusion now. We're starting to realize that. We're starting to recognize it. Healer, and you are a healer, and you do have healing ability, and part of that is your eyes are open. Represents your third eye. It represents your intuition. Because you went hermit, right? You meditated enough to understand and cut through the illusions. Okay, so I'd say this is really hopeful ending. We're going to end it here. You are able to heal yourself and others, and now roads are open, and you could travel safely in this land because you see through the illusions. Okay, you saw through the illusions by going hermit. I won't dig for the hermit card, but okay, I think that says it. Okay, that's enough. All right, I hope you come back to Self Hoodlum again. We're going to talk more about my stories in subsequent videos, and I'm releasing one later tonight called Dark Boulder, about how I started to see through the illusions in Boulder, Colorado, where I came from originally. So that'll be filled with some personal anecdotes about coming up against the illusions of the hidden controllers. All right. Thank you so much for coming by. I see 3322 on my timer right now. Those are two master numbers. All right. Somebody's a real self-hoodlum around here.